Hi everyone, have you ever flown home for the holidays thinking you were finally coming back as the successful one, only to realize you've actually been the family's walking ATM all along? My mom bought my ticket this year, said it was her treat, said she missed me. But the night I arrived, one message in the family group chat changed everything. That was the moment I opened a hidden folder on my laptop, every single receipt they forgot to pay back. And when I showed them, my mom was the one who panicked. I thought this holiday trip would finally heal the quiet distance between me and my family. Before we begin, if you love dramatic, real-life inspired stories that hit close to home, please support this content by liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts below. And tell me, where are you watching from? Drop your hometown in the comments. I read every single one. When my mom called me in early December, I almost didn't pick up. We hadn't argued. Not officially. But over the past few years, our conversations had slowly shrunk into polite check-ins and forwarded holiday greetings. Ever since I moved to the city and started working in finance, something shifted. I became the successful one, the reliable one, the one who could help out. Her voice that night sounded softer than usual. "I bought you a ticket," she said. "A ticket? To come home for Christmas. Round trip. You've worked so hard. Let your mother do something nice for once." For a moment I couldn't speak. She had never bought me a plane ticket before. Usually I paid for my own travel. Actually, I paid for most things. "Mom, you didn't have to." "I wanted to," she interrupted. "We miss you." That word "we" landed heavily. My dad. My younger brother Adrian. My aunt who practically lived next door. The entire orbit of family that I once revolved around before I left. I told myself this was a fresh start. Maybe they finally saw me as more than their emergency fund. Maybe this was gratitude. Maybe this was love. The airport was chaos when I landed. Holiday lights flickered across terminal windows. Children ran past with oversized backpacks. Couples reunited dramatically at baggage claim. And there she was. My mom. She waved both arms like I might not recognize her, even though she hasn't changed much. Same short hair, same determined posture. When I hugged her, she held on tighter than usual. "You look thinner," she said immediately. "You look exactly the same," I replied. She laughed, but there was something measured in it. On the drive home, she updated me on everything I'd missed. The neighbor's renovation. My cousin's engagement. My brother's new opportunity. "What opportunity?" I asked. "He's starting a small business. Online sales. Very promising." "That's great," I said automatically. "He invested a lot already." I stared out the window at the familiar streets. "How much is a lot?" She hesitated. "You know how young people are. They need support." Support. That word had followed me for years. When Adrian needed a new laptop for college, I sent money. When my dad's car broke down, I covered repairs. When my aunt's medical bills stacked up, I transferred funds without asking questions. Each time the same phrase, "I'll pay you back soon." Soon never came. But I told myself it didn't matter. I was doing well. I could handle it. That's what family does, right? The house looked smaller than I remembered. Or maybe I'd grown into someone who no longer fit inside it. Adrian greeted me with exaggerated excitement. "Big sis. The legend returns." He hugged me quickly, already glancing at his phone. My dad shook my hand like I was a business associate. Dinner was loud, cheerful, almost too cheerful. Compliments about my job. Questions about city life. Laughter that felt slightly rehearsed. Then, halfway through dessert, Adrian said it. "So, since you're here, maybe you can give me some advice about scaling my business. Maybe even invest." The word hung in the air like smoke. My mom quickly added, "Not pressure. Just if you feel comfortable." There it was. The real reason. Or maybe not the only reason, but a reason. I smiled. "Let's talk numbers tomorrow." Adrian's eyes lit up. That night, I lay in my childhood bedroom staring at the ceiling. I opened my laptop out of habit. And that's when I saw it. A new message in the family group chat. I wasn't supposed to see it. They must have forgotten I was still in the chat. "Adrian. She's here. Don't scare her off too fast." My aunt. "Let her relax first. Then we explain the situation." My mom. "We just need a little help." She owes this family her success. Oh, my fingers froze above the keyboard. I scrolled up. More messages. More planning. Careful wording. Timing discussions. As if I were a walking investment portfolio arriving for annual review. That's when something inside me shifted. Not anger. Not even sadness. Clarity. I closed the chat slowly. Then I opened another folder. One I had created 3 years ago after the third. I'll pay you back soon. Inside were screenshots. Bank transfers. Invoices. Notes with dates and promises. Every dollar. Every excuse. Every delay. I had never shown it to anyone. Until now. I stared at the total amount at the bottom of the spreadsheet. It was enough to buy a small apartment. My heart pounded not from fear. From decision. Tomorrow at dinner they would ask me for money again. And tomorrow I wouldn't say yes. Tomorrow I would show them every receipt they owed me. And I had a feeling my mom wasn't ready for that. My mom wasn't ready for that, because the next evening, I brought my laptop to the dinner table like it was an uninvited guest. The atmosphere was almost festive. My aunt had come over. The dining table was full roasted chicken, buttery mashed potatoes, candles flickering like we were about to celebrate something sacred. In a way we were. They thought they were about to secure another investment. I thought I was about to close an account. Adrian started it just like I knew he would. So, he said casually, swirling his drink, I've been working on projections. If I can just inject a little more capital, I can triple revenue in 6 months. Triple? My dad asked, impressed. Yes, but I need someone who believes in me. All eyes turned to me. My mom gave me that gentle smile, the one she used when asking me to sacrifice something quietly. You've always been the responsible one, she said. You understand these things better than we do. Responsible. I nodded slowly and placed my laptop on the table. I do understand numbers, I said calmly. That's why I thought we should look at some together. Adrian leaned forward eagerly. Great. I can show you my pitch deck. Oh, I interrupted softly. I'm not talking about your projections. I turned the screen toward them. A spreadsheet filled the display. Dates. Transfers. Notes. Silence fell. At first, I began, my voice steady. I didn't track anything. Because family doesn't need receipts, right? No one spoke. But after the third emergency transfer, I started documenting things. Just in case. I clicked the first entry. $2,800. Adrian's college laptop. Promised repayment in 6 months. Adrian shifted in his chair. That was years ago, he muttered. Yes, I agreed. 6 years ago. Click. $4,300. Dad's car repair. Temporary loan. My dad's jaw tightened. Click. $6,700. Aunt's hospital expenses. We'll settle when things stabilize. My aunt stared at her plate. Click after click after click. Each line wasn't just money. It was trust extended. Trust never returned. My mom finally spoke. Why are you doing this? Tonight of all nights. Because tonight, I replied, you were going to ask me for more. Her expression flickered. Guilt, irritation, disbelief. That's not fair, she said. We raised you. We supported you. And I'm grateful, I answered immediately. But gratitude isn't a lifetime debt contract. The room felt smaller. Adrian crossed his arms. So what? You're rich now. You can afford it. That sentence. That assumption. I inhaled slowly. I can afford it, I said. But that doesn't mean I owe it. My dad stood up abruptly. Family helps each other. Yes, I said. Family also pays each other back when they promise to. The total amount glowed at the bottom of the spreadsheet. $48,620. No one had ever seen that number before. My mom looked at it like it was a stranger. That can't be right, she whispered. It is. Her voice softened, almost trembling. You kept score. No, I corrected gently. I kept records. There's a difference. She pushed her chair back slightly. So what do you want? Interest too. I closed the laptop halfway. I want acknowledgement. They looked confused. I want you to stop calling it support when it's dependency. I want you to stop planning my visits around what you can get from me. I want honesty." Adrian scoffed. "You're being dramatic." I turned to him. "Am I? Then show me your business numbers. Show me what you've invested. Show me your risk." He didn't respond, because there was nothing to show. My mom's eyes filled. Not with tears, but with something more dangerous. Wounded pride. "You think we flew you home just to ask for money?" she asked quietly. I held her gaze. "I didn't," I said. "Until I read the group chat." The color drained from her face. Adrian looked up sharply. "You saw that?" "Yes." The silence this time wasn't heavy. It was exposed. My aunt tried to intervene. "We were just discussing timing, not manipulating." "Don't scare her off too fast," I quoted calmly. No one denied it. My mom pressed her lips together. "We were struggling." "Then say that," I replied. "Don't strategize me." Her shoulders sagged slightly. For a moment I saw something real. Fear. Not of losing money. Of losing control. "You've changed," she said softly. "Yes," I answered. "I learned." Another long pause. Then my dad spoke in a quieter tone than I'd ever heard from him. "So what happens now?" I opened the laptop again and rotated it back toward me. "Now," I said evenly, "we decide whether this family is built on love or transactions." My mom swallowed. "And if we can't pay you back?" she asked. I looked at her carefully. "That depends," I said. "Are you willing to be honest about why you thought I owed you in the first place?" And the way she looked at me in that moment told me something even bigger was hiding beneath the surface. Something that had nothing to do with Adrian's business at all. Something that had nothing to do with Adrian's business at all was written all over my mother's face that night. It wasn't about startup capital. It wasn't about projections or missed repayments. It was about something older. Something deeper. Something I had never questioned. My mom stood up slowly, as if the weight of the room had suddenly doubled. "Everyone go home," she told my aunt quietly. "But," my aunt started. "Please." There was a firmness in her voice I hadn't heard in years. My aunt gathered her purse. My dad avoided my eyes. Adrian looked irritated but stayed seated. When the front door finally closed, the house felt different, quieter but sharper. My mom turned to me. "You want honesty?" she asked. "Yes." She nodded once, then sat back down. "You were never supposed to struggle," she said. I frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," she continued slowly, "that from the moment you were born we decided you would be the one who made it out." I blinked. "What?" "We didn't have much," she said. "You know that. Your father's job barely covered bills. Adrian was always different. Restless. Not focused." Adrian scoffed. "Thanks, Mom." She ignored him. "You were disciplined. Quiet. Smart. So we invested everything into you." "Invested?" I repeated. "Yes," she said firmly. "Private tutoring. Extra courses. That exchange program in high school? We couldn't afford it." My heart skipped. "You told me the school sponsored that." "We took out a loan," my dad said quietly from the corner. The room tilted. "What loan?" My mom inhaled slowly. "We mortgaged part of the house." I stared at them. "You never told me that." "You didn't need to know," she replied. The words hit me harder than any accusation. "You said it was merit," I whispered. "You said I earned everything." "You did earn it," she insisted. "But we pushed you there." Adrian leaned back in his chair. "See? That's what Mom means. You didn't just wake up successful." My hands felt cold. "So this," I gestured toward my laptop, "this is repayment for raising me?" My mom's eyes flashed. "No. This is balance." "Balance?" I echoed. "Yes. We sacrificed so you could build a life we never had. Now that you have it, why wouldn't you lift the rest of us?" There it was. Not greed. Expectation. Generational expectation. I swallowed hard. "You could have told me," I said. "You could have said you took loans. You could have shown me numbers." My dad looked ashamed. "It wasn't that simple." "It never is," I replied. Adrian leaned forward. "Look, sis," he said, softening his tone for the first time. "You're acting like we scammed you. But you're living the dream. apartment in the city, international trips, promotions. You think that happened alone? I turned to him slowly. And you think my 80-hour workweeks happened because someone handed me a crown? He didn't answer. My mom's voice cracked slightly. We just thought you'd understand without us having to beg. That word again. Beg. I never wanted you to beg, I said quietly. I wanted you to ask. She looked confused. What's the difference? The difference, I said carefully, is choice. Silence. When you ask, I continued, I get to decide freely. When you assume I owe you, it's not help anymore. It's obligation. My dad finally stepped closer to the table. The house loan isn't fully paid, he admitted. My head snapped toward him. How much? He hesitated. 22,000 left. The number hung in the air. Less than half of what they owed me. My mom quickly added, and Adrian's business. No, I interrupted. We're not mixing this. Adrian's face hardened. So what, you'll help mom and dad but not me? I will help transparency, I replied evenly. Show me your numbers. Show me actual investment. Show me risk you're taking personally. His silence was answer enough. My mom looked between us torn. You're dividing this family, she said. No, I corrected. It was already divided. I just stopped pretending. The truth settled heavily over the table. For the first time I saw it clearly. They didn't see me as a wallet. They saw me as the family's retirement plan. The proof that their sacrifices had paid off. And maybe they were afraid that if I stopped giving, it meant their gamble had failed. My mom's voice softened. Do you resent us? The question surprised me. I thought about it. About childhood nights studying while Adrian played outside. About the pressure to never disappoint. About being told, you're our hope. I don't resent you, I said slowly. But I'm tired. She looked smaller somehow. Tired of us? Tired of carrying everyone's future alone. Adrian stood abruptly. This is unbelievable. You come home and turn it into an audit. He walked toward the stairs. Maybe I should have stayed in the city, I called after him calmly. He froze. The house went still. Because for the first time they realized something terrifying. I had options. And if I walked away emotionally, not physically but emotionally, the entire dynamic would collapse. My mom whispered almost to herself, we thought flying you home would bring you back to us. I looked at her carefully. Maybe, I said. It just brought everything into the light. And as the silence deepened, my dad cleared his throat and said something that changed the direction of the night completely. The loan, he said slowly, wasn't the only reason we needed you home. The loan, he said slowly, wasn't the only reason we needed you home. The words didn't just land, they echoed. I felt something tighten in my chest. What do you mean? I asked. My mom and dad exchanged a look I hadn't seen since I was a teenager. The silent negotiation of who would speak first. Finally, my dad pulled out a chair and sat down again. There's an offer on the house, he said. I blinked. An offer? To buy it? Everything inside me went still. This house? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. My childhood home. The walls marked with pencil lines tracking my height. The kitchen where my mom used to hum while cooking. The backyard where I studied for finals under a dying mango tree. Yes, my mom said softly. A developer wants to buy the whole block. They're building apartments. And, I pressed. And the offer is good, my dad admitted. Good enough to pay off the loan. Good enough to start over somewhere smaller. My stomach dropped. Then why do you need me? I asked. My mom's fingers tightened around each other. Because Adrian doesn't want to sell. Of course. I closed my eyes for a moment. He thinks it's giving up, my dad added. He says we're letting outsiders take what's ours. I exhaled slowly. So this is about convincing me to convince him? Partly, my mom said. And the other part? Silence again. Then my dad said it. If we don't sell, we can't finish paying the loan without help. There it was. The fork in the road. Sell the house and clear the debt. Or keep the house and rely on me. Adrian's footsteps thundered down the stairs before I could respond. I heard that, he snapped. You're not selling. My dad stood. We can't afford to be sentimental. It's not sentimental. Adrian fired back. It's legacy. Legacy doesn't pay banks, my dad replied sharply. Adrian turned to me. Don't tell me you're on their side. I stared at him. There are no sides, I said evenly. There are numbers. He let out a short laugh. Of course. Numbers. That's all you see. That's unfair, I replied. Is it? He challenged. You left. You built your shiny life. This house is the only thing that proves we matter. His words stunned me. What does that even mean? He stepped closer. When people ask where we're from, this house is the story. If we sell it, what are we? My mom's voice trembled. We're still a family. Adrian shook his head. You don't get it. She doesn't get it, he said, pointing at me. She doesn't even live here. That accusation hurt more than I expected. You think I don't care? I asked quietly. You care about spreadsheets, he shot back. I took a slow breath. No, I said. I care about freedom. The room stilled again. If you sell, I continued, you clear the debt. You reset. You don't owe me. You don't owe the bank. You start fresh. And if we don't? Adrian asked coldly. Then we make a repayment plan, I said. Structured. Transparent. No more vague promises. My mom looked torn. You'd really make us pay you back? She asked. I'd rather you not owe me at all, I answered. But if you choose not to sell, then yes. We treat it like adults. Adrian threw his hands up. So it's business now? It always was, I said quietly. You just didn't call it that. He stared at me like I'd betrayed him. Then he said something that cracked the room open. You know why I don't want to sell? He asked. No one responded. Because this is the only thing in this family that wasn't about you. The words hit like a shockwave. My mom gasped softly. Adrian. No, let him speak, I said. He looked at me with years of frustration behind his eyes. This house wasn't your scholarship. It wasn't your award ceremony. It wasn't your city promotion. It was ours. Mine. The place where I wasn't compared to you. I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about money. It was about identity. You think I asked to be the golden child? I whispered. No, he said. But you accepted it. That stung. 'Cause maybe in some ways he was right. Silence swallowed us again. My dad rubbed his temples. This isn't productive. It is, I said softly. It's honest. I turned to Adrian. If we sell, you get your share. You invest it properly. Not blindly. Not emotionally. Strategically. And if I fail, he asked. You learn, I replied. Like I did. He held my gaze for a long moment. You'd help me plan it? He asked, quieter now. Yes, I said. But I won't fund it blindly. My mom's eyes moved between us, hope flickering. So what are we deciding? She asked carefully. The air felt electric. Sell the house and break the emotional anchor. Or keep it and stay financially entangled. For the first time, I realized this wasn't about receipts. It was about whether we were brave enough to redefine what family meant. I looked at the walls one more time. The peeling paint. The old clock. The memories layered in every corner. Then I said the one thing none of them expected. If we sell, I said slowly, I'll match whatever profit you use to pay off the loan, so you walk away completely free. All three of them stared at me. But, I added firmly, after that, there are no more hidden expectations. No more silent debts. No more group chat strategies. Adrian's jaw tightened. My mom's eyes filled. My dad whispered, You'd really do that? Yes, I said. The room felt suspended in time. And then Adrian asked the question that would determine everything. What if Mom doesn't want to sell? What if Mom doesn't want to sell? The question sliced through the room more sharply than any argument we'd had that night. All eyes turned to her. For years, my mother had been the quiet strategist behind every family decision. The soft voice that nudged outcomes without ever raising its volume. If she said no, nothing would move. She looked around the living room slowly, as if seeing it for the first time. The old curtain she refused to replace. The cabinet filled with trophies, mostly mine. The couch that had been reupholstered twice instead of replaced. I always thought, she began softly, That this house was proof we survived. No one interrupted her. When we bought it, your father and I had nothing. No savings. No connections. Just hope. Every crack in these walls reminds me that we built something from nothing. Her voice trembled slightly, but she didn't cry. But survival isn't the same as peace, she added. That sentence changed the temperature in the room. Adrian shifted uneasily. Mom. She turned to him. You think selling means surrender, she said gently. But keeping it while drowning in debt. What is that? He didn't answer. She faced me next. And you, she said, her gaze steady. You think paying everything off will free you? I held her eyes. It will. She shook her head slowly. No. It will free the numbers. But will it free your heart? That question lingered longer than any accusation. Because the truth was, I didn't know. My entire adult life had been structured around financial independence, safety, control. I believed if accounts were balanced, emotions would follow. But families aren't spreadsheets. My dad finally spoke, his voice tired but clear. We need to decide tonight. The developer wants an answer by Monday. The clock on the wall ticked louder than usual. Adrian stood up and paced. If we sell, he said, we're moving, starting over. Downsizing. People will talk. People already talk, I replied quietly. They just talk about how I pay for everything. He stopped walking. That landed. My mom inhaled deeply. If we sell, she said almost to herself, we clear the loan. We divide what's left. We stop depending on you. She looked at me when she said that last part. Not accusing. Acknowledging. I nodded. Yes. And after that? She asked. After that, I said carefully, we build a relationship without money attached to it. Adrian let out a breath. You make it sound simple. It won't be, I replied. But it will be honest. The silence stretched. Then my dad did something unexpected. He walked to the bookshelf and pulled out a thin, worn folder. He placed it on the table in front of me. What's that? I asked. The original purchase contract for this house, he said. My mom's eyes widened slightly. He opened it carefully, revealing old documents, faded ink, signatures from decades ago. You see this number? He said, pointing to the original price. It was shockingly low compared to today's market. We were terrified signing this, he continued. Everyone said it was too risky, too ambitious. He looked at Adrian. But sometimes risk is the only way forward. Adrian swallowed. You're saying selling is the new risk, he said quietly. My dad nodded. Yes. My mother closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, they looked clearer, lighter. I don't want this house to be the reason my children resent each other, she said. No one spoke. She turned to Adrian. If we sell, we are not losing history. We are choosing peace. His shoulders dropped slightly. And if my business fails? He asked again, softer this time. Then you fail on your own terms, she said gently. Not hiding behind your sister's success. The room felt fragile. Like one wrong word could undo everything. Adrian looked at me. Will you really help me plan? He asked. Yes, I said. But I won't rescue you. He nodded slowly. That was the closest thing to maturity I had ever seen from him. My mom straightened her posture. Then we sell, she said. The decision landed quietly, but its impact thundered through me. For years, I had carried the invisible weight of being the solution to every problem. And just like that, the role began to dissolve. My dad let out a long breath, almost like he'd been holding it for years. Adrian sat down again, quieter now. My mom looked at me carefully. There's one more thing, she said. My stomach tightened. What now? She gave a small, almost embarrassed smile. I didn't just buy you that plane ticket to ask for money. I raised an eyebrow. She hesitated. I was afraid, she admitted. Of what? That you were slipping away from us. That one day you decide you didn't need this family at all. The vulnerability in her voice stunned me. All this time I thought they feared losing financial support. Maybe they feared losing me. I felt something shift inside my chest, something softer. I don't want to leave, I said quietly. I just don't want to be used. She nodded. That's fair. We sat there for a long time after that. No shouting. No accusations. Just four people realizing that love had been tangled with fear. And as the weight of the decision settled over us, my phone buzzed on the table. A notification. From the developer. But when I read the message, my heart skipped. 'Cause the offer had just changed. 'Cause the offer had just changed. I stared at my phone, rereading the message to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding it. What is it? My dad asked immediately. I looked up slowly. They increased the offer. Adrian straightened. Increased. By how much? My mom whispered. I swallowed. By almost 30%. The room fell silent again, but this time it wasn't heavy. It was electric. That's impossible, Adrian said. It says they're expanding the project footprint, I explained, scanning the message. They want to secure all properties on this side of the street immediately. They're willing to fast-track payment. My dad sat down slowly. That would clear the loan, he murmured. And leave a significant amount left, I added. Adrian grabbed my phone and reread the message himself. This is insane, he breathed. For years, this house had been a symbol of survival. Now it was turning into opportunity. But opportunity has a strange way of testing people. My mom looked at me, not at the phone. What are you thinking? She asked quietly. I hesitated. I'm thinking, I said carefully, that this is exactly the kind of moment that reveals who we are. Adrian frowned. What does that mean? It means, I continued, this money could either fix everything or destroy us. He scoffed. It's money, not a curse. No, I replied calmly. It's power. And power shifts dynamics. If they accepted this offer, they wouldn't owe me. They wouldn't owe the bank. They wouldn't depend on anyone. But sudden financial freedom can create new fractures. My dad looked at Adrian. With this amount, you could start something real, he said. Adrian's eyes gleamed, but differently this time. Not desperate. Calculated. And you? I asked him quietly. He met my gaze. I'd finally prove I'm not just your shadow. The honesty in that answer surprised me. My mom reached across the table and took my hand. If we accept this, she said, we do it cleanly. No secrets. No hidden expectations. I nodded. Yes. She squeezed my hand gently. And you, she added softly, you keep your money. That hit harder than I expected. For years I had been bracing for the next request, for the next subtle suggestion, for the next just this once. And now she was releasing me. I felt something loosen in my chest. My dad stood up with a renewed energy I hadn't seen in him for years. We call them tomorrow, he said. We accept. Adrian hesitated. Wait, he said. We all turned to him. What if we negotiate even higher? I couldn't help it, I smiled. Now that was the Adrian I respected. You see, I said lightly. That's strategy. He smirked slightly. Maybe I learned something from you after all. The tension in the room softened. But then my mom said something unexpected. There's one condition. We all looked at her. If we accept this offer, she continued, we sit down together and decide how the remaining money is divided. Fairly. Adrian nodded immediately. My dad agreed. Then they looked at me. I blinked. Why are you looking at me? Because, my mom said gently, you're part of this family too. I shook my head. No. This is your house. My dad stepped closer. This house became valuable because of the neighborhood's growth. That growth happened while you were sending money home, helping us keep it. I froze. I don't want to share, I said quickly. Adrian raised an eyebrow. You sure? Yes. My mom tilted her head slightly. Is this pride? She asked softly. Maybe it was. Maybe after years of being the provider, I didn't know how to just receive. I don't want this to become another invisible debt, I admitted. My mom smiled faintly. It won't, she said. Because this time we're choosing openly. The difference was undeniable. Before, everything had been assumed. Now everything was spoken. And that changed everything. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the developer. They want a response within 48 hours, I said. My dad nodded. Then tomorrow we meet them. Adrian leaned back in his chair, exhaling deeply. You know what's crazy, he said. What? I asked. If you hadn't shown us those receipts last night, we might have rushed into asking you for more money instead of even considering selling. He was right. If I hadn't drawn the line, we would have repeated the pattern. My mom looked at me carefully. Those receipts, she said softly, they weren't about money, were they? I met her eyes. No, they were about respect. Yes. She nodded slowly. I'm sorry, she said. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. But it was real. And for the first time in years I believed her. We sat together for a long time after that, no longer adversaries, no longer strategists, just family. But as I stood up to go to bed, my dad said something that made my pulse quicken again. There's one more thing you should know, he said quietly. I turned back. What now? He hesitated. The developer didn't approach us first. A chill ran through me. Then who did? Then who did? The question barely left my mouth before my father looked at me in a way that made my heartbeat change rhythm. You did, he said quietly. For a second I thought I misheard him. What? I laughed nervously. That doesn't make sense. My mom inhaled slowly. The developer contacted us after someone from the city's financial advisory board mentioned this neighborhood was undervalued, she explained. I felt my stomach tighten. I had written that report 6 months ago. It was part of a redevelopment analysis I led at work. I highlighted several overlooked residential blocks, including this one, as future growth zones. I never connected the dots. You're saying, my voice trailed off. They told us your name came up in the discussion, my dad finished. They were impressed. The room felt unreal. All this time I thought I was just the daughter sending money home. But without realizing it, I had increased the value of the very house I was fighting to detach from. Adrian stared at me, stunned. So your numbers just made us 30% richer? I sat down slowly. I didn't do it for this, I said. We know, my mom replied gently. And suddenly something clicked. For years I believed my success separated me from my family. But in reality it had quietly elevated them too. Not because I paid their bills, but because I built something that created ripple effects. Tears filled my mom's eyes. Not dramatic, not desperate. Proud. You see, she whispered. You were never just our investment. You were our miracle. That word would have made me uncomfortable before. Now it felt different. Because this time it wasn't tied to obligation. It was tied to admiration. Adrian leaned forward. All this time I thought I was competing with you, he admitted. But you weren't even playing that game. I looked at him carefully. I never wanted you behind me, I said. I wanted you beside me. He nodded slowly. The rivalry that had lived quietly between us for years began dissolving in that moment. My dad cleared his throat. So here's what we're going to do, he said firmly. We accept the offer. We pay off the loan. We divide what's left equally between the four of us. I opened my mouth to protest. No, my mom said gently, holding up her hand. No more silent sacrifices. No more secret burdens. Equal. I searched their faces. There was no manipulation. No hidden strategy. Just intention. And after that? I asked. My mom smiled. After that, we visit you in the city next Christmas. We all laughed softly. The tension that once filled this house had transformed into something lighter. Not perfect, but honest. 2 days later we signed the papers. The house that held decades of memories would soon belong to someone else. But strangely it didn't feel like loss. It felt like evolution. On the final night before I flew back, I walked through every room alone. I touched the wall where my height had been marked year after year. I stood in the kitchen where my mom used to remind me to study harder. I sat on the stairs where Adrian and I once argued about who got the bigger bedroom. And I realized something powerful. The receipts I showed them weren't about collecting money. They were about collecting respect. The plane ticket my mom bought me wasn't bait. It was fear disguised as generosity. Fear of losing me. Fear of losing relevance. Fear that success creates distance. But success doesn't divide families. Silence does. When I arrived at the airport the next morning, my family walked me to the gate. No talk of investments. No subtle hints. Just hugs. Real ones. Adrian pulled me aside before I boarded. I'm building the business, he said. With my own share. I smiled. Send me the plan, I replied. Not for money. For feedback. He grinned. Deal. My mom hugged me last. You don't owe us, she whispered. And for the first time in my life I believed it. As I sat on the plane watching my hometown shrink beneath the clouds, I opened my laptop. That folder, the one filled with every receipt they owed me, still sat there. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I deleted it. Not because the past didn't matter, but because it no longer defined us.